Hello, I am your everyday average Jonathan. I am an ordinary guy with ordinary tools making extraordinary things. Things that I make tend to be fantastical, whimsical, maybe echoing times of long forgotten yore. Items like armor, weapons, structures, furniture, practical items that I use on my ranch every day here in Colorado. Today I will be making a pair of throwing knives that I received commission for in the classic everyday average Jonathan format, which is a mix of traditional and my own style. Along the way you will see my mistakes, you will see my process, you will see my aha moments. I don't edit out any of it. I look forward to having you with me today. Let's go to the shop and get started. Anytime that I get the chance to make something for somebody and they give me carte blanche to make the design the way that I would like it to be, it's a very exciting process for me. Obviously filled with hope that what I make matches what their expectation is, excites them, gives them a sense of anticipation, a sense of intrigue. Obviously, my portable belt sander and I have a difference of opinions here on this moment. That does happen quite a bit when I twist too much to try to cut too tight of a curve or tight of a line, but all in all, it'll end up working for me. I often wonder what tools I use the most in my shop, and this bench grinder certainly is a high candidate for the most high use tool that I have. Also, this angle grinder, I probably use that as much as any other tool that I have in my arsenal. And if truth be told, these throwing knives, they were just a lot of cutting and a lot of grinding. I mean, that was really it. There was a little bit of drilling and a little bit of sanding, but pretty much it was all grind work. I have the basic shape cut out here of the metal, so I take the template that I created and I go ahead and apply that over that. And I draw an outline, bring it over to the grinder, and repeat the process. This here is my Colorado mountain dog. His name is Baron, and he comes into the shop to visit me whenever there is either lightning or hunters afoot and there's some gunshots. He gets very intimidated at the sky boomies. And we've cut out a little bit more of the shape. We've ground it out a little bit, back to the bench grinder, spending lots and lots of time on this bench grinder. I also have this drum sander that I bought, very, very cheap, probably the cheapest drum sander you can possibly get. And now I know that I will probably not be using that for anything but maybe the softest of wood. It wasn't very good. What I did here was I put both of those blades together. I sandwiched them together, put a clamp on them, and then I was able to profile both of those blades and both of those handles as one. That gives them a uniform look, so they look like they were created out of the same mold. Now I'm just going to go ahead and make these open rings for the handles. I wanted this to be large enough that you could fit your index finger into the hole and spin it around, kind of like one of those fidget spinners that you see all the young kids, well, they used to do. I don't think they do that much anymore, but it's a very pleasing feeling. And now I'm just taking a wire wheel and I'm going to clean these up, make it really, really smooth so that there's no burrs on that entire handle. I'll tell you what, this little tool is a deburring tool that I got from Home Depot, and it is such a good device when it comes to doing metal work like this. It just takes off the little burrs that you can't really get at very cleanly, very evenly. It's got replaceable blades. Now I'm taking my die grinder to this. It's just a really great way with this sanding wheel to get everything very polished, very close to what it would feel like in your hand without any burrs and any indentations that pop out. I did have to do a little bit more profiling, a little bit more beveling of the sharp edges on the side before I could go ahead and finish the sanding up, but it just gives it a real polished feel, real refined look to it. And in the hand, it just comes out feeling great. Nothing grabs you. It just feels really like a very refined piece in your hand. At this point, the knives are basically done, just some finishing touches. I think I did a count and I used about 9 different grinding or abrasive devices on these blades. Since they're 100% metal, there wasn't any woodwork involved. That makes sense, but still it's nice to be able to have a variety of tools at your disposal. This is pretty heavy grit sandpaper, probably 80 grit sandpaper on my sanding wheel here. And right now I'm just going to go ahead and start to profile out the edge, and then I'll come at it with something that's much more fine-tuned. And here's a quick imprint of the blades as they popped straight out of the metal. Now I'm doing the throw tests, and I have to be honest with you, I recorded this, I don't know, 10 times before I started really sticking them, and then once I figured out my distance, I did start sticking these pretty regularly. And here are the 2 finished products. They were heat quenched. I did not capture that on film, but they came out really good. As with everything I do with metal, almost everything, I don't care for things that are incredibly shiny and look like knights in shining armor. I want something to look like it's battle worn, used. And really, I want things to look like they came right out of a crypt, right out of a tomb, out of the earth, as if you just uncovered them in your backyard for the first time. So a lot of scale was left on and a lot of detail in that regard that I do not remove off, but they came out pretty good. I'm happy with the overall result. I hope that you are too. Well, thank you for joining me. That was a lot of fun. I always get excited when I'm able to make a commission for someone. I have anticipation and a little bit of nerves as to what their perception will be, what their reception will be. But the person that asked for this, she loves it. She's very good at throwing knives. She's been using them to good effect. So the overall result was what was desired. One of the main things that I learned with making throwing knives, I've thrown throwing knives before, I've thrown throwing axes before, but just because you can make something doesn't mean that you're any good at it. I'm not very good at it. But that said, I have a philosophy that I adhere to when I'm using a throwing knife or throwing axes and things of that nature. I've seen a lot of people throw like this. My philosophy is this: if I'm going to throw a throwing knife at a target or an axe at a target, I want to throw it in such a way that there's going to be intended consequences for what happens for that target, not pretend consequences, meaning that I'm going to throw it naturally, but I'm going to throw it hard. There's nothing wrong with the people that throw for complete accuracy and just want to stick it. My philosophy is I want this thing to have the consequences that it was made to have when it does stick in the target. One of my learnings was, and I wasn't able to film this and I regret that, is that the quenching process that I used on these particular knives was also a screw up, similar to a quenching process that I've used in the past where there was flaming oil all over my shop floor. So I'm definitely gonna have to remedy how I do that, and I intend to. Another thing that I learned was that things like throwing knives and axes probably don't need to have deadly sharp blades. The reason for that is when you're practicing with them, and even when you're using them, you're gonna miss. You're going to have it fall on the ground. It's going to hit things that it's not intended to hit, and it's going to mar up the blade. I had to resurface and reprofile the blade of those throwing knives several times because I missed and it hit the ground or it hit a rock. So thanks again for dropping by. I hope you enjoyed it. Next week, I will be making a scabbard for the Roman gladius that I made recently in the tried and true everyday average Jonathan format, which is a mix of traditional, studied, and my own way of expressing things. I hope that you enjoyed this build. Until then, have a great weekend.